And if you would join me in a moment of silence out of thanksgiving and respect and honor in memory of Dr. Michael Science, the founding president of our Northwest campus who died recently. Thank you. Are there any public comments, Mr. Gates? I would ask approval of the minutes of the meeting of October 20th, 2016. Motion to approve. Second. Any discussion, corrections, additions? All those in favor, aye. Any opposed? The consent agenda you received and hopefully have had time to consider, and we'll move to approve the proposed revisions to policy CIB local. Mr. Heed moves to
Second.
approve. Mr. Greenhill seconds. Any questions? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The item is approved. Dr. Giovannini, you want to introduce our Student Access and Success program tonight?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Zeppelin. There we go. All right. First, I'd like to ask Ms. Maria Schelt to come forward on the dual credit, and I think Rosemary, you're going to join her, please. Rosemary Reynolds.
And I'm just here to introduce Dr. Rosemary Reynolds, who is the Executive Director of Institutional Intelligence and Research. It's a long title. It didn't used to be that when I was here.
It is a long one indeed. Good evening, Chancellor Giovannini, members of the board, President Appelman. Before I get started, I don't know if it's the last board meeting of a particular person, but if it is, I would like to give a personal warm thanks to the many months of service that my Vice Chancellor, and that is Maria Shelton, has given to us. She came out of retirement and left those precious grandchildren to help keep IR and IT running smoothly. A couple of words about what I've learned in the months that I've been able to spend with Vice Chancellor Shelton. A couple of things you learn right away. One is she does not suffer fools easily, nor incompetence. That's the first thing. And I think everyone in this room will probably attest to that because she was here for many, many years prior to me even being here. But the second thing and the most important thing that you learn from such an inspirational leader is that when you get things right, she's your biggest cheerleader. Her razor-sharp intellect and wisdom is truly only surpassed by one thing, and that is Vice Chancellor Shelton's passion for TCC. If we all had 1/10 of the passion that she did, who knows what we could do. I say that a little bit with hyperbole. At any rate, we thank you. We thank you, Ms. Shelton. Now, in case I get in trouble, Reg said I could do that.
Whoa, blame it on Reg.
Everything gets blamed on Reg.
I'm just covering my bases for the record. All right. Again, thank you so much for your service. Okay, so I'm joined this evening. Again, I'm Rosemary Reynolds. I've already been introduced. I'm joined this evening by my lead research analyst, Dr. Holly Stovall. So tonight we're going to provide to you really a state of the union of our dual credit program here. Now, some of you may know a great deal about our dual credit program, and so some of you may know very little. So I do ask for your patience, members of the board, as we cover this topic. What I can promise you, though, this evening is that I'm going to be presenting some very new and exciting data in terms of our massive growth in graduation rates vis-a-vis our dual credit program. So I have a feeling you'll be pleased. Once I've concluded my remarks, I'll be happy to take your questions, and if there's something I cannot answer, I've got 6 lifelines right here in front of me. I'm sure that'll be able to help. So now, before launching into the numbers, let's first frame the presentation with the definition of dual credit and then furthermore a definition of early college high school. So obviously the simple definition here, a dual credit student is someone taking a college course prior to completing high school. Also, a dual credit student is not a first time in college student. I repeat, they're not first time in college students yet, and they're not auditing. So understanding the distinction now between a dual credit student and early college high school student is noteworthy. So I want you to think about it this way. Not all dual credit students are early college high school students, but all early college high school students by definition are dual credit students. And another way of thinking about our early college high school program, think of it as an alternative delivery method of instruction, if you will. And there are three typologies, and we have examples here, obviously, at TCC. The first example is what we have with the Marine Creek Collegiate under President LeBlanc. A campus within a campus is our second example under Dr. Jordan, where we have campuses, the early college high schools rather, such as Everman and Crowley. And then third, whereby an ISD will dedicate a building to where courses can be taken. So as you would imagine, our dual credit students are what? They're typically highly motivated, high achievers, they're self-motivated. So the reason I have readiness circled there is this is actually a slide from the 60 by 30 plan for the state of Texas. So we're grabbing that readiness piece through our dual credit students. Obviously, dual credit fosters college readiness. College readiness is a strong factor towards completion. So we're grabbing that readiness piece, as I said, with the ultimate goal of all of our students being able to get as many as we can to completion and to a degree or a certificate. As we know, that 60 by 30 plan, just as a reminder, is the goal is that Texans between the ages of 25 to 34 will have a college certificate or degree by 2030. By 2030. That's a very ambitious goal, as we know. All right, moving right along to the growth that I was just mentioning and bragging about. Look at this growth over the last 5 years of our dual credit program. We have more than doubled in the last 5 years. That's commendable, and that's very exciting to me. Yeah, next slide. Okay, so let's just put this in a little bit of perspective here. So in terms of overall impact, 5 years ago, our dual credit program, our students comprised about 7% of the overall population. Now it's more than double, it's about 15, all right? As we all know, the overall headcount for the last 5 years at TCC has hovered between roughly 50 to 52,000 students. So that has, remained largely the same. Anyways, keep that in mind, 15% of the students. Not a huge segment of the population, but certainly an important one. I want to dig a little deeper. Because what I want to do is, now that I've kind of given you proportionally where the dual credit students fit into the overall head count, let's dig and look a little deeper into rates, the participation rates by ethnicity on the respective campuses. Certainly, one point of interest, if you can look at the charts here and notice the South and Trinity River campuses, the percentage of Hispanics is substantially higher in our dual credit population than in the overall campus populations. While at other campuses, such as Northeast, Northwest, as you can see on the chart, and Southeast, the percentage of whites is much higher in the dual credit population versus the overall. At almost all campuses, the percentage of Black African Americans is lower in the dual credit population than in the overall population. Overall, our district numbers reflect an over-representation, if you will, of whites. Our Black population is underrepresented, and our Hispanic population, interestingly enough, is right on par with the district average. Okay, so now we've just examined a good bit about the ethnic comparison of our dual credit populations versus campuses as a whole. And I've mentioned earlier we've seen significant growth. But have a look here. Not only have we seen growth exploding over the last 5 years in headcount, look at the enrollments. That's the courses, the numbers of courses the students are taking, and those have doubled as well. One last point, since I've got the contact hours up here, if we do the math on this for 2016 fall, that's roughly $2 million and change revenue coming in for our dual credit programs for fall 2016. Okay, so this kind of leads me to my next slide. So why is this happening? Why are we seeing so much growth? Well, certainly one factor I think we all know is the passage of House Bill 505, which passed in May of 2015. That certainly opened up the floodgates. However, it also has to do with the quality of the program and how the programs are supported. And look at these early college high schools. We have 7, as we know, early college high school. Our founding early college high school, Marine Creek Collegiate, under the wonderful leadership of Dr. LeBlanc. That opened in fall 2011, and soon many more followed. Dr. Jordan now has 3 early college high schools on his campus, and I do believe, when was the early college high school Crowley Collegiate get approved, Dr. Jordan? In August of this year. That's very exciting. And the last, it's not up here on the projection, but I was just told by Dr. Capola that if all goes well, on the Timberview campus, another early college high school is scheduled for approval by fall 2017. Mansfield, Timberview campus, yeah. Okay, and I mentioned this earlier, but it's worth seeing again. The average number of courses for our dual credit students has gone roughly from 2010, 1.5 courses up to 2. Okay, so next slide, yeah. There we go. Okay, so we know we've doubled. We know we've increased in headcount and enrollments, and we're chugging right along. how do we continue to grow? How do we continue to maintain this fantastic momentum? Well, many strategic factors obviously play into this, but one of least is certainly is to maintain strong partnerships and collaboration with our ISDs. So 50% of those roughly 7,500 students, half of those students are coming from these three ISDs, Mansfield, Fort Worth, and ISD. Next slide. Okay, so what you have here, this table is showing you the top 15 feeder schools that feed into TCC, with 5 of those being the early college, some of our early college high schools. So 1 in 2 students come from these top 15 high schools, all right? And Keller actually has the largest number of students. The numbers that you see on the right, the numbers in white, those are the actual numbers of students. So about 400 students, and this is for 2016, correct? Yeah, okay. Now, if we remove, or if we, subtract the early college high schools and we just leave the top 10, 1 in 3 students are coming from these schools. Next slide. Okay, I just wanted to throw this in here. These are your usual suspects in terms of the top, most popular courses that our dual credit students take. English 1301, which is English 3, History 1301, which I believe that's American history, and the Government 2305 is federal government. Okay, next slide. Okay, so these next 3 slides are all about percentages. Another component, and I've been talking about the completion piece and how that relates and ties into the 60 by 30 plan, is take a look at this. So 90% success rate for our dual credit students, compared to 70% of students who aren't dual credit students, their counterparts, the rest of the student body, if you will. What that means is this: 90% of our dual credit students earn a C or better in their coursework, versus their counterparts, 70% of them earn a C or better. That's significant. That's 20 percentage points higher. Okay, next slide. So the second percentage point that we're looking at is how many of our dual credit students, think of those 7,500 dual credit students over time, how many of those return to TCC as a first-time in college student? And it's about 6%, all right? It's about 1,000 students. What we did to get to that number is we just combined 3 cohorts, and historically, it's about 6%, so roughly 1,000 students. Next slide. So this is the last, and for me, most compelling data to present this evening, and quite frankly, not that we stumbled on this, but when we did the analytics on this, we went back and checked it probably 6 times, because this is substantial, this is significant. If you compare former dual credit students who come to TCC as a first time in college student, so imagine you're coming to TCC, you've got those dual credit classes under your belt, okay? Your graduation rate within 3 years is 18% compared to your counterparts who don't have dual credit coursework under their belts. That's graduation rate within 3 years. Look at the graduating within 4 years, more than double. Again, these are powerful numbers, powerful numbers. So why does this matter? Well, in terms of achievement for TCC, dual credit is a big win in the column for us, but we're not operating in a vacuum, obviously. As you know, and I've been mentioning this throughout this evening, that the 60 by 30 plan is the next most ambitious chapter of closing the gaps, if you will, of 2015. And we have 3 broad goals. Tonight, I'm focusing on the completion piece of the dual credit program. If you think too about if the completion goal or if the whole plan is not met, and these are numbers I've pulled from the coordinating board, the gap will continue to widen between students with a college degree and students who do not, and it widens to about 3 percentage points. So this completion piece is critical. And as you've seen this evening, the overall success and growth of our dual credit program is a tremendous start toward making our students college ready today. A final point is that the studies that the coordinating board does, conducting on students who actually achieve a certain amount of hours within their first year, they're much more successful. And this, of course, is aligned with our internal data as well. So it's that personal investment that's built in. And as the state's 6th largest community college, as we know, about 1 in 20 Tarrant County residents come here, we play a critical role in helping all of our students be successful. And so I close with this. If you remember nothing else tonight from what I've said in close, we leave you with some important takeaways here. Here are the facts. The dual credit population, we've more than doubled. The success rate of our dual credit students is about 90%. That's student success rate. That's completing their courses. Degree-seeking, first-time in college students with those former dual credit hours have a 4-year graduation rate, twice the well, actually it's more, it's 1 percentage point more, but we round it off, of degree-seeking students without former dual credit. We feel, dual credit is our opportunity to start students on their college pathway. Every student counts. And with that, my presentation is concluded, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them. Thank you.
Okay, would you explain how the students are selected for dual credit early college high school? Is every student eligible for dual credit, or how do you select those? And also early college high school.
Okay, so I'm going to call on a lifeline here because I'm going to say Dr. Capola or any of the presidents or even the vice presidents are going to be better at answering that question than I am.
Early college high school, as you know, has a very in-depth application process that the student has to go through, which includes their recommendations from the middle schools, as well as interviews with the parents and with the students. Dual credit, the students can sign up for dual credit if the high school recommends them for the class, but they have to be TSI, passing TSI for that class, just like any other student that enters our college.
Okay. So are they...
Lifeline?
Okay, but when we talk about the success rate of the program, are we getting better students in the dual credit in early college high school than the rest of the population? Okay.
I have a yes from the crowd.
Okay.
But
Yeah, so-
Again, sorry, think about it. I mean, there's that intrinsic motivation piece for one, right?
Right.
I mean, they're motivated to do this. So
Okay.
that's one piece of it, but there's, go ahead, there's recruiting too.
Let's remember that dual credit is not just an avenue for students to build up credit. It's also to create a college-going culture within the high school. Because once those students that do get into dual credit, and you do have a lot of students that they're gonna go on to UTA or Texas A&M, I have to get both of them in there. And what they're gonna do is use this as a way to just get a head start. But there are other students that the high schools see these students that have the capability of doing college work, but don't really see college as part of their future. And they're the ones that recommend them to go into dual credit. And a lot of them are first-time in college students and their families. And those students then get the confidence to say, I passed the class, especially since most of our dual credit classes are taught by the college faculty, not by the embedded dual credit faculty yet. And when they go do that, then they have visitations to the college campus. So the dual credit started out as a way for students to have college in mind and to have them to be successful once they leave the high school.
Yeah, and I understand that. I think it's great, but don't go away yet.
I'm not, we have 5 other people
So,
here.
but when you look
I
at
did
the,
rehearse this, by the way. So.
I understand. When you look at the completion rates,
Yes.
which are tremendously higher, but you're starting with a better student level also.
We like to think that all students start the same. You really can't get into buckets of students. When we take the top 100%, that's what community colleges do. Yeah. We don't put them down that you have to do, who's better and who's not. Okay, all students have the capability to excel. And studies have shown if you take students that don't feel like they can excel or are not demonstrating that they can excel and put them in a situation where they have to reach a higher bar, they're going to reach that bar. And it's really reflected back to the high school and to the student.
Yeah,
So what's your question again, Mr.
Well, it kind of skews influences the completion rate figures. I mean, I know it's going to be higher anyway, but you're starting with a more motivated student to begin with. I would think. So, I mean, but
I would accept that, yeah.
But still, I mean, I remember when Everman started, and I asked every single student what their goal. They had goals.
Oh, they do.
I mean, my gosh, they were bright-eyed and just so excited about being in there. So, I mean that.
And that's the early college high school. Those students
Yes,
that come
right,
in.
yeah.
They're
Yeah, it's excellent.
okay. Can
Thank you.
Where'd you go?
Dr. Patrick?
Yes, I'm wanting to ask you about the cost to the students and the financial arrangements for the program.
Okay. Again, I'm gonna call on another lifeline. That's
Sure.
not an area that I feel completely comfortable discussing. Yeah, please.
Good evening.
Good
I want to, before I cover the cost piece, I want to cover the fact that the faculty and staff dedicate a lot of time, extra time with the dual enrollment in early college high school students, teaching them the skills that they need to be successful as a college student. So yes, the students are motivated, but we also have a team of individuals that go the extra mile to help them acclimate. So when you talk to the early college high school students or dual enrollment students, they'll tell you that they had to learn how to be advocates for themselves, how to be more responsible. No one's going to tell them, gee, your homework is due tomorrow. Can you get busy to doing your homework? You've got to figure that out. So those are all skills that they learn. And that is an important piece because it takes a whole team approach. And they're successful because everyone wants them to be successful. In terms of the cost, the dual enrollment students bring in contact hour reimbursement, which is what Dr. Reynolds was mentioning, and then they also pay our regular tuition. And that is different with each district. So Arlington pays for part of that, and is Mansfield as well? In the case of the feeder schools to Northwest Campus, the student has to pay for their tuition. Did that
No, I was
answer your
just
question?
wondering if any of them were at no cost to the student.
The early college high school is at no cost to the student. So an advantage is, for the early college high school, an advantage is that the students don't pay tuition and they're able to finish their associate degree and high school diploma at the same time in 4 years.
And obviously, that program starts in grade 9, but dual credit, what grade may they take their first dual credit class?
With new legislation, they can start at the 9th grade. That's more recent.
And my final question has to do with the variety of subjects that are taught, and do you have some numbers on that? I mean, dozens and dozens, or just,
We do have the top 10. Do we not? Yeah, hold on, let me just see if I had that right here. Beyond, what we can provide you, Dr. Patrick, is beyond the top 10. Economics is one. Where did that go? Off the top of your head, can you think?
A couple of other English classes, the math 13, 14.
Right, economics, psychology, history, well, we already mentioned history. I mean, it covers a broad spectrum. And
so
I
they have
don't
a lot
know-
of choices?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. What? Right, it has to be in the core. Yeah, in the core. Yeah. Okay. And I apologize. I will get that to you.
Oh, that's great. I'd love to see your whole report.
And I can get that to you very easily.
No, it's
Yes.
very interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, one other question. We know that completion rates are higher, significantly higher than the regular student body, but when the dual credit and early college high school students leave TCC or leave the high school, how well do they do versus other students when they go on to four-year schools and so forth? Have we developed data yet? I know it's difficult to do.
Mr. Heed, yes, as I recall months ago, you asked this question
Yes, I did.
before. I recall, I don't know that you got a very good answer, but it's the best answer that can be provided to you right now. It's very difficult to track these
know.
students. We have to rely on the National Student Clearinghouse and iPads for these data, and that is a slippery slope. So at this point, I wouldn't be comfortable even speculating about that, but it's something that's definitely worth going after, worth pursuing. How long would it take for us to even get into a ballpark in the next 2 to 3 years for graduation rates, where they go, that kind of thing?
We could do that fairly quickly.
Okay,
Submit in the National Student Clearinghouse.
okay. All right, we will report back.
Yeah, because inherently, you'd expect that to be a significant increase, but it's good to have data to prove that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and the other question is Keller gives us more students for dual credit than any other school. So, are there any plans to do early college high school in Keller?
That would be Dr. I was going to say Dr. LeBlanc. We
We have a very good partnership with
with Keller ISD. And we're looking at different ways in which we can expand that partnership to include that. It's really up to the superintendent there and his board as to their readiness for the early college high school. But we certainly stand ready to support them.
Good. Thank you.
Madam President, I have a couple of maybe more comments than questions. First of all, I'm very happy to see the success rate. I think that this is a program that we should look at expanding, and I have some ideas about that. And one of my comments is that TCC should do more of its own recruiting within the schools rather than leave it to the school counselors. And if you look at the contributing schools, it has a lot to do with participation rates, have a lot to do with the culture of the schools. In particular, I'm aware that a testing situation where the students knew they were testing, and the comment after was nobody wanted to do that, nobody wanted to take that seriously. People just kind of played around. They didn't want to be isolated as the student who was going to stand out. So therefore, that it was a quick entry to it. So there was not the proper groundwork laid with the students and the parents to emphasize the real value and the potential result for participating and doing dual credit. Also, the fact that they were going to be taken away from the school campus, and the question about missing some important extracurricular activities. So there needs to be more work, and I believe that we need to begin in the schools where the participation rates are low, begin recruiting and informing students and parents in the 5th grade so that as they go into middle school, they understand the track that they can be on and accumulate the success pathway that will allow them to be successful in TSI. In other words, we have the responsibility, TCC, to create a college-going culture beginning in the elementary schools, and particular in the schools where we know that our participation rates are low. So we have to not only inform and educate the students, but the parents, the grandparents, and the whole community. And that is one of the things that I want us, as we look at these data, to backtrack and find ways to do that within those cultures and within those schools. Also, I know that we're relying on the counselors to select students for early college high school, and I would like to see us take more responsibility in that. Because I know we can get the participation rates up, and I know that this would be a tremendous investment for those families to make, and I would like to see us assume more responsibility in that. Your point about once the students are in, everybody there, it's a culture of success, so they get a lot of extra attention, and that's an important point, and it is as it should be. But I would hope that we can begin to give that attention to students at an earlier age so that they are on a pathway to success. But thank you for the data. It helps us to know some of the places we need to go.
Thank you so much. Good evening.
Thank you both, Ms. Stovall and Dr. Reynolds. And now we're going to hear from Northwest Campus, and she stands ready.
Dr. LeBlanc and Dr. Wood.
Good evening again, Mrs. Appelman, board members, Dr. Giovannini. It is with great pleasure that I introduce Dr. Laura Wood. She will be giving the Northwest Campus presentation today. I want to point out that our faculty from different disciplines work in concert so that our students are able to connect the knowledge and skills that they acquire in class to the real world. And tonight's presentation is an excellent example of some of those partnerships that we have on the Northwest Campus. Earlier today, we actually had a global citizenship conference. The students prepared presentations on different religions and cultures, and they also had food, which I tested all of it, and it was really wonderful. So I was happy. But it's a great learning experience for them, and it involved faculty from different disciplines working together and bringing the students on board. So tonight's presentation will be similar to that. Please help me welcome Dr. Laura Wood.
I also want to welcome Dr. Jason Clark Miller, who's sort of my cohort in this. So we're giving each of you a packet. There is one, they're all the same except for Dr. Giovannini's. His is slightly different. And I'll explain the tags that you're getting. Those are called our tags of remembrance. And so it goes with the story that I'm going to tell. I'm a historian, and so I teach by telling stories. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a story tonight and connect two on-campus projects and programs and how one led to the other. So if you go back to 2004, and in 2004 I was teaching in my third war here while teaching at Tarrant County College. Yes, I'm that old. And I was frustrated. Our students weren't really paying much attention to the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and this was their generation's conflict. And so my frustration was, I'm going to give you a project. I was known as the project professor, and the project was to come up with a way to honor all those who were making the ultimate sacrifice in the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. What our students produced for this in my class was truly outstanding and changed the course and part of my career and my studies. They had to research about memorials from the past, which means I had to research those memorials as well, and we connected it to the curriculum in the honors program, and this was an honors project at that time. What they came up with was powder-coated black panels with dog tags attached. The tags you have are replicas of those. The tags have the name, branch of service, rank, and date of death, and they are in chronological order. Your packet also includes a little bit of information about the history of the wall, because I can't tell you about all of that tonight. When we started, we thought one wall with 20 panels would be way more than enough. Remember, this was 2004. However, just this past Friday on Veterans Day, I spent all afternoon working with students as we put up the frame for the 6th wall that will hold names. So that project, as I said, greatly impacted me, and I tried to use the wall as a teaching tool, and that led me to a lot of other projects, including a NEH Teaching Development Fellowship, to create an online searchable database of war memorials and military cemeteries around the world. And I've traveled all over the world. I've been able to teach all over the world. Mrs. Appleman's fellowship helped me do that a few years ago in France, where I taught students, American students overseas, and they used the database. But I wanted to really go beyond that. We had this public space of memory we had created. And Dr. Jason Clark Miller, who is a sociologist and teaches criminal justice, had come to our campus and started teaching, and we had a lot of conversations about this idea of public spaces of memory and how memory and history is part of also the studies in sociology, and what a great way you could teach critical thinking. And so we began coming up with ideas about how we could combine our disciplines to teach students critical thinking by taking them to places of memory other than just on our campus. And clearly they had one right on our campus to begin with. And we started with a local field trip to the Veterans Park here in Fort Worth on Canton Bowie Boulevard, as well as to the DFW National Cemetery. But we started thinking bigger. What if we could take students even beyond that? And that led to our travel trip, Landscapes of Social Memory, that students can enroll in and take 3 or 6 hours. Now let me briefly come back to your tag. The memorial, as I say, is an ongoing project and a lifelong project. And one of the things we've started doing, which also combine, and I'll tell you about the tags in relation to the travel trip, we are now fundraising by selling replica tags of those on the wall, so people can take the memory away from our memorial and have it with you all the time, much like the POW MIA bracelets from the Vietnam War. Because the idea is to remember these individuals and their stories. So you each have a different tag. And for those other than our Chancellor, these are individuals who listed on the DOD list when they joined the military, Fort Worth or Tarrant County is their original hometown. And in your packet, you have their personal stories. So it's not just a tag and a name. You now know who that person was. And I collected information, in some cases from their obituaries and other places, articles about them. For our Chancellor, I went a little bit differently. Luckily, in a way, there was no one listed technically from Seneca Falls in the DOD list. However, there were 2 folks from the county of your hometown, and so I chose Mr. Ackman, who was born in Auburn and graduated from Waterloo High School, to make that personal for you. And I wasn't sure how much you did or did not know of him.
Steve played for me. I coached him when he was a freshman and sophomore in high school.
So yes, it touches all of us. So how sort of a small world. So your tag you can take with you as a tag of remembrance. I have one on my keychain from Captain Blake Russell, and interesting, we actually got his tag originally wrong, and I can explain to you sometime later. It was because the way the original death lists were listed. His father, who lives here locally, called me up and said his spouse had been here, and they were so pleased by the wall, as many of our student veterans are when they come to our campus. And Mr. Russell said his son would be so proud to see his name up there on the wall. And of course, I said we would change it. It listed him as Marine Corps and he's Army. And I said, well, good thing it wasn't the other way around, right? But Mr. Russell actually took courses at Tarrant County College briefly in the fall of 1991 and the spring of 92 at night, and he took history and government at Northwest Campus. Now, those are our old paper records, and I was not able ever to find out if he was in one of my classes. I taught some night classes at that time, but I felt I had a connection with him. He went on to the university, to A&M, and then to Fort Campbell and Special Forces, and so he's someone I carry with me. So I hope you will keep these with you as a little bit of remembrance in the stories that you have. Again, we sell these normally. I'm not asking you for money, but we sell these to other folks for $5. Or if you know someone specifically, we can make a specific tag for $8. And the money goes for both future wall construction and maintenance, as well as to help fund our future Landmarks for Social Memory program. So back to this travel study that grew out of this idea of public spaces of memory. What we wanted, again, was to take students out to places and think critically, not just be in awe, this is beautiful or it's wonderful, but also to really ask questions about the places that they visit. So who created this place? A public space of memory is a creation. Somebody's trying to create a memory. What memory are they creating? Why? Who? What's included in that memory? What's not included in that memory? What do they want you to take away from it, and how do students interact? And so sociology and history intertwine in that area. Our first trip was in 2015. It was a bus trip across the South, and it was wonderfully timed. This was just a few months after the killings in Charleston. And so there was a national discussion about symbols, particularly at places of memory, obviously the Confederate flag. And literally, the night before we rode into Montgomery, Alabama, the Alabama governor ordered the taking down of those flags from the Capitol in Alabama. And so we could discuss this with our students throughout this trip, the places that they went and saw. And they looked at people who were there and the juxtaposition of civil rights and Civil War places. Our students had a lot of feedback, and one of the places they suggested was Washington, D.C. So last year we took our students to Washington, D.C., and we had an unbelievable trip. And we have a short video. We'll show you a little bit more about that. Now, our trips have averaged 23 students for each trip, which is quite large. I've traveled with students in the past, and that's pretty large. The reason, I think, is it has a focus. We're very clear about what we're doing, and it's affordable. The bus trip was for 7 days, 6 nights, $750, not including tuition. And the trip to Washington, D.C., we did fly that, we didn't take a bus to D.C., was $950. And that was 7 days, 6 nights. And part of the ways we were able to keep these costs so low is we act as the travel agents. So there's no additional overhead for that. And with the internet today, you can do that, a lot of it yourself. And then we stayed on George Washington University campus right near the National Mall, 3 blocks from the White House, 3 blocks from the National Mall, to keep costs down. So we also then create a great diversity of students, because all kinds of our students can go on such a trip. So we have been more than pleased at what we've been able to do with our students in connecting these two projects. We start with pre-trip meetings, and one of them is to learn about how I helped create a public space of memory, the decisions that go into that, why you do certain things, why you include certain things, why you don't, what are the limits that you face. So the students have real practical knowledge before they go off to a place like D.C., which is almost nothing but public spaces of memory, and they are a nation's public spaces. And the feedback we get from students is tremendous. So before we show the film, in your packet you have obviously your tag of remembrance. You have a little story about your particular person so that you know who they are. You have a flyer for our travel study program, what we put out the students see. You have a brief flyer on the wall and its history, and then you have 2 packets where we collected, our students do a survey, a post-trip survey, and we ask them very direct questions. What did they learn? How did it change them? What places did they most like? So you'll be able to read in their own words and voices exactly their reaction to the trip. So why don't we show the video, and then if you have questions, we'd be glad to answer those. And Dr. Clark Miller made the video.
Hi, this is Jason Clark Miller. In the summer of 2015, Dr. Laura Wood and I took a very large bus and about 25 students on a week-long journey through the southern part of the United States. Our intention was to explore how America used memorials to tell the nation's history, especially the history of the Civil War and civil rights. But as we traveled and talked with students, we realized that the trip was having a profound impact on them personally. Many of the students that were traveling with us had never been outside of Texas, so they were actually seeing the country for the first time. Others were interacting with history and their social worlds in deeply personal ways that was remarkable to actually witness as a professor. For a few, the trip proved to be both personally and academically transformative. By the time we got back, we knew that we wanted to take another trip, this time to DC. We created this video to explain a bit about our trip to DC, how it came about, how it relates to TCC goals, what we did, and what we learned. The first thing that Dr. Wood and I have to do is actually create a common vision for the course. This turns out to be a fairly simple process. While historians and sociologists have somewhat different academic perspectives, they're often compatible. Landmarks of Social History examines how societies construct their history for future generations to learn through the creation of historical landscapes. The focus of shaping the historical narrative is the common theme that binds our two courses together. And where our courses diverge, there's still often synergy. While the specific sites we visit might hold different meanings for sociologists and historians, it's always possible to discuss the importance of a landmark from both perspectives. By observing these various sites and studying their design, construction, layout, who uses them, and how they use them, students actually learn more about history and sociology, even when they're only taking one of the classes. As part of the basis for examining landmarks of memory, all of the students are required to read a common set of articles. For example, we ask them to read and use as a partial guide the article, Memorial Landscapes, Analytic Questions and Metaphors. The article focuses on three oriented themes for thinking about memorial landscapes and has questions for each theme that relate to both sociology and history. We divide students into groups, and we ask each group to make written notes and take photographs of the various sites that we visit, both large and small. We ask them to keep records and respond to what they see and experience by relating them to the common readings and other course content. By doing this and engaging in group activities, our students learn from both courses, and it helps them to develop critical thinking and analytical skills, which are part of TCC's QEP and central to our course objectives. The course activities that we engage in also meet the vision of the college to provide diverse and quality education in a variety of formats and help students understand the world in an innovative learning environment.
It's the best way to learn, I now know, because I've gone on this trip. I'm very hands-on, and so the opportunity to learn while traveling in such a dynamic place as Washington, D.C., it was an eye-opening experience.
One of the things that impressed a lot of our students was how many places we went. The other was how many places that we went that weren't typical tourist fare. For example, on the left-hand side, we're actually going into the tunnels below the Capitol building. On the right-hand side, we're behind the back doors of the Smithsonian. Our trip focuses on landscapes of social memory and memorialization. On the right is the 9/11 Memorial at the Pentagon, the Jefferson Memorial, the FDR Memorial, and that memorial to higher education, the Library of Congress. Professor Wood and I spent a great deal of time with the students. However, they did have some free time. Here, for example, is a group of TCC students at the Jefferson Memorial on a maybe midnight bicycle ride around the National Mall. And here are some of the pictures they took that night at the Lincoln Memorial, the World War II Memorial, and the Korean War Memorial. The Landmark of Social Memory course requires a great deal of group work. Here we see students actually preparing for presentations that they're going to be giving in the days following our return to Fort Worth. Group presentations are an important part of the Landmarks of Social Memory class. In these presentations, students accomplish a number of different tasks, but most importantly, they relate the reading, they relate the course material to the actual travel that they've engaged in. To help organize group activity, provide better communication, and simply gauge how students were feeling about the trip, we created a Facebook page for Landmarks of Social Memory, in which some students continue to participate today. Here are some of the reactions that they've had. As part of our continued efforts to improve the course, we've asked students to participate in a follow-up survey. In the survey, we asked them to rate the experience, how it benefited their learning, and whether or not they've learned something about themselves. The results are truly staggering.
As what did I gain out of that trip? And I got the historical experience of a lifetime. I'm a big history buff, and it was great just walking back and forth across DC, seeing every single historical site. The city's littered with it. There are a bunch that you don't even know. My favorite places that I went to was the National Cathedral and the Police Memorial. The professors were the best guides. They're there because they want to be there. They like traveling. This is what they do. This is what they write their papers on. And so they led us across D.C. And who better to show you Washington, D.C., our nation capitals, than a history professor and a sociology professor.
Using what we've learned from our previous trips, Dr. Wood and I have already begun working on our next trip to Washington, D.C. This time, for example, we'll probably spend less time at the Pentagon and more time at the Police Memorial. We're also beginning to think about travel further abroad. For example, to France in 2018, where our trip would coincide with the memorialization of the end of World War I.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? I know Mr. Heated wanted to come out and get a tour of if any of you'd like to come out to the memorial, I can give you a background and sort of where we want to go. We'd love to have you come to Northwest Campus to do that. But if you have any questions or... Thank you for your...
Do you have any thought of maybe taking the students to Cuba?
Someday that would be great, yes.
Well, because it's in the midst of an
Right.
incredible change.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that's a great place we'd love to go. We're hoping, one of the ways, we have Boston as a place I'd like to go. I've taken students there before, and you can stay at a college campus. Northeast University allows you to do summer travel. So if we could go to Cuba, if you want to help with funding with that, I'm trying to get to Europe in 2018, but we would love to. We are open to. This is something we do every year. It's become a little bit of a self-promoting program, which is what we hoped. We already have 5 students who have given us deposits for the coming year, which they just started to be able to register this week, and we had 5 already committed as of last week. So we would love to go any places that you want to help us get to. We would be happy to go to. Yes. Oh, well, no, February's a little quick for a class to get set up, but maybe the following year or 2019, be ready. Any other questions?
Other questions? Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you
Thank
both
you
so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to veer from the agenda for just a moment. We have a late arriving public comment guest, Debbie Fitz.
Thank you and good evening, everybody. I live in Roanoke, Texas, so I apologize for being late. The traffic was, it was incredibly bad. It was like an accident on 35, but I thank God that I made it. I'd like to tell you something about me. As I was sitting here listening, I was just thinking to myself, I need to be a part of TCC because I'm a product of TCJC. That's what I call it. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm an ordained minister, And my current job is I'm a forensic nurse at Carswell Federal Medical Center. That's a facility at Carswell Air Force Base. It's a Bureau of Prison facility for female inmates. Is anybody familiar with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, what I do there is I do counseling and I talk to the young ladies and I try to prepare them to have a future when they get out of prison and give them hope and tell them that's not the end of their life. It's only the beginning. I have a ministry. I am a CEO of a 501c organization called Blue Mood Productions, and with an emphasis on domestic violence and child abuse awareness prevention. And I want to thank Dr. Morrison. She's the reason that I'm here, because this past, and I know I only have 3 minutes, but this past year I was looking for a facility to have my banquet in. I have an annual banquet, a domestic violence awareness banquet every year. And my organization is new. I just started it in 2015, and I didn't have any funds because everybody was asking for like $800 to $1,000. So a friend of Dr. Morrison said, you need to go and see her. And I called her, and she was so gracious. She allowed me to have my banquet at TCC Opportunity Center for free October the 1st. And I was so grateful for that. Now, Dr. Morrison did not know that I graduated from, and I'm still saying TCJC because I graduated back when tuition was only $25 a semester hour. And so I'm telling my age a little bit. But anyway, I still refer to it. And I feel like I'm home now because I'm a product of that. And I just can't tell you in the 3 minutes that I have what that facility did for me at South Campus. I graduated with an Associate of Arts degree so I could get all my basics out of the way. And then I graduated with an Associate of Applied Science in Nursing. And I'm going to mention 3 instructors that were so helpful to me during that time. Robert Davis, and he's passed on now, but he was my English instructor. Eva Williams was my fundamental clinical instructor for nursing, and Dorothy Davis was my reading instructor. I had been out of college for a long time. I was a single parent, and so I had to do some of the basics in order to get into the program. And those 3 instructors were very instrumental in my success. Not only did they help me, but they led me to other avenues, like I needed a loan, and I got a $200 scholarship from some Christian organization. It was a women's organization that gave me that money. And then at the end of my year, I had to get a $2,000 loan just to make it. But I thank God because now I'm so successful, and I go and I tell other women and other young girls that just because you think you can't go to college doesn't mean that you can't, because TCJC is affordable and they are so helpful to the student. And so that's what I'm teaching and preaching right now. I'm giving back to everybody I talk to about this college, and I want to continue to be a part of it, Dr. Morrison, because you just don't know what it did. It changed my life. You see me now, but I didn't look like this. I wasn't at this point in my life. And it's because of that nursing program. And I tell all the young people that I meet, get a nursing degree. Because with a nursing degree, you can do almost anything. I have several certifications. I have several specialties since I've graduated. And it's allowed me to have a different lifestyle. I have a different income. So I just want to share with everybody that when you go out and you're doing your teaching, I know you already do this, but I'm just reemphasizing this. Could you tell them about the nursing program? because it has, and back then that's why I chose it, not only because of economics, but I don't know if anybody knows this, but TCC has 100% passing state board rate, and that supersedes UTA and TCU. I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but it's true, and I'm very proud of that fact, that the instructors there make sure that you pass your state boards. They teach you, then we take a test that they give at a minimal cost, and then you're just constantly trained to do the nursing testing, because nursing testing is just different from any other testing. It's not your typical multiple choice, and I wanted to emphasize that. Thank you for this time, and I thank TCJC for changing my life.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us tonight. We'll move on to item number 7 on the agenda, committee reports, audit and finance. Mr. Carter?
Yes, Madam President, the audit committee did meet last week. We had a single item on the agenda. That was to review the annual external audit. As you know, that audit is a requirement, a state requirement. The copies of it are sent to several state entities, including the coordinating board. It's basically to make sure that we follow proper accounting practices, but it's also basically gives you about a decade record of revenues and expenses. So we have someone from an auditing firm here to speak with it, and then after that, I'll make a motion that we accept that audit report or adopt it.
Thank you. Dr. McClendon and Mr. Fitz.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, Mr. Chancellor. I would like to introduce James Fitz, who's going to talk about our comprehensive annual and financial report, and he'll be happy to answer any questions that you'll have.
Good evening. Thanks for having me here. We have substantially completed our audit, and I believe you've got a copy in front of you of that draft report. I'm going to summarize just a few of the high points. I'm going to try to be so brief and so quick that I'm not going to ask you to flip along with me. But you know how they say that the book is usually better than the movie. That's the case here too, so I encourage you to read the book later. It's got a lot of good information in it, as Mr. Carter referred to. And actually, the book has won an award, which I can't say for my presentation. It's actually last year's book. But in the introductory section, you'll see the GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. That's the 24th consecutive year that the college has earned that award. So that's a great testament to the great work of Mark McClendon, Nancy Chang, Stan Vick, Lindsey Brannon, and the whole team. And we anticipate that this year's report, when it has a chance to be reviewed and will be submitted, will also earn that achievement. So real quick, just some highlights. The auditor's report, we do plan to issue an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, or a clean opinion. It is the highest form of assurance that your auditor can offer on your financial statements. On the statements of net position, total assets at the end of the year were $1.17 billion. That's about a 3% increase over last year. Last year in the liabilities section, we had the big change with the new accounting requirements for pensions. So that liability showed up all of a sudden. It had never been there before. This is year 2 of the pension accounting. That pension liability went up $7 million. So liabilities overall increased about 6.5%. Without the pension liability increase, liabilities actually decreased 2%. And then at the bottom of that statement, you'll see the net position at the end of the year was $1.07 billion as of year end. The next statement is the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. And the net increase in net position for the year was $34.6 million. Some other aspects of the report, there were no material weaknesses in internal control over financial reporting or over compliance that we were required to report, so that's good news. And also there were no findings in our audit of federal and state grant compliance that were required to be reported, so that's also good news. Want to thank Mark and Nancy, Stan, and Lindsay for all their help answering our questions, feeding us lots and lots of information. And does anybody on the board have any, or the Chancellor have any questions on the audit or the financial report?
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was succinct. I did want to make one point, which is not anything relevant to the accuracy of that, which is that one of the things you would see in this report, if you see it, was that your expenses actually increased about twice the rate of your revenues. Have about a 1.6% increase in revenues, sir. Is that correct? And roughly a 3% increase in expenses. You're a nonprofit entity, so it's dollar in, dollar out. I only mention that because that's sort of like burning the end of the candle, and it's a small percentage. But as this is a process that's been actually going on since the early 2000s. At one point, there was enough of a tax increase there it was easily to absorb. But what will happen is, if you continue this, is that you will slowly reduce your discretionary spending. It's just something to keep in mind. So there is that. So that being said, I think I'm
saying you, say we.
we. It's like I would like to make a motion that we adopt this audit.
And there's no second required since it comes from the committee. Are there any questions, discussion? All those in favor of accepting the report as presented, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Carter and your committee, and Mr. Fitz and your colleagues. We appreciate it. Item number 10, consideration and approval of purchase of internet connectivity from AT&T, a 5-year contract in the amount of $410,727. Ms. Shelton?
Okay, this agenda item is for a contract for our internet connectivity with AT&T. It is a 5-year contract. You'll see the total here is $410,727. We got bids from 4 telecommunication companies, and there was an attempt to make all of the contracts coterminous, so they were ending at the same time. We upgraded from a slow connection, which was a T1, which is like 1.44 megabits, to 100 times that almost. We recommend approval. The new contract will actually be less than what the contract would be if we continued it at the rate we're paying now. So, questions? And I don't belabor the point, because we've got to have internet connectivity. AT&T is the biggest dog in the house, and they can actually, if we did it 1 year at a time, when you do those contracts 1 year at a time, there's a premium for that. So with the 5-year contract, we get the best rates that we can get.
Motion to approve, Mr. Heed. Seconded by Mr. Carter. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, aye. Any opposed? By the way, as we put kind of a new system in place, and probably most of you are aware of it, we've opened up the governance committee to staff and anyone. It's an open meeting, and as many members of the board as can attend do, and it gives us an opportunity to ask the questions and discuss the options on these presentations. So it means staff has to come to us twice sometime, so we appreciate that.
We love you.
Yeah, I know. It makes us so much better at what we do. Okay, item number 11, consideration and approval of purchase of Microsoft Campus Agreement from CDW-G, a 3-year this is the second year of a 3-year contract in the amount of $286,064.14.
And Microsoft is just the suite that we've chosen to support not only student work but administrative work. And as you've heard, this is not a new contract. It's just the second year of a 3-year contract. So if we're going to use it, we got to do it.
Motion to approve. Mr. Hayes. Seconded by Dr. Morrison. Questions, comments? All those in favor, aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Shelton.
you.
Item number 12, Ms. Robinson, consideration and approval of annual insurance premium renewal for 18 lines of coverage in the estimated amount of $1,258,893.
November is a month for our annual insurance renewal, and this is 18 lines of coverage. In your packet, you have a list of all 18 lines with the premium amount. Suzanne Robinson is our risk manager who works for many, many months in getting these insurance premiums down. And you see that this year she's saved us $8,173. So I would ask the board for approval of renewal of these 18 lines of coverage in the amount of $1,258,893.
So moved.
Mr. Greenhill, seconded by Mr. Heed. Questions, comments? All those in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Dr. McClendon, monthly financial report.
Good evening. This is the month of October. October financial, we will only look at revenue or expenses that are greater than 25% and that we have not previously mentioned. When we look at our revenue, is exactly as expected. It is 14.1%, just as a item of information. Last year, we were at 14.0%. So revenue is very predictable. When we look at our expenses, next page. All right, we will mention items that were that are greater than 25% that we haven't mentioned. So we want to highlight two of the items, and what we'll do is we'll go out through the period, and everything that's new, we'll share it with the board, because I know that y'all are quickly to pick these up. Both communications and external affairs and professional services are both greater than 25% because they have a blanket purchase order. So what that means is that it's encompassing more than one period, and so that's why that percentage is higher. All right, but that is not to be construed at that expense, but that is the way that you use modified accrual accounting. All right. Next one. When we look at our overall expenses at the bottom, they're about 20% versus a target of 17%, and we're okay because we have blanket purchase orders, which are actually driving those numbers. So that's very much in line with what we would expect. Okay. So we'll talk about investments. There is only a decrease. If we look at our pool value, there's a decrease of $21 million. If we look at our short term, we bought a $10 million term. And if we look at, there's no differences in our U.S. securities. So our ending balance is $240 million. And so it's a decrease of 11.9. Our yield is just like the month before, 0.84%. And we're very happy for the WAM. It's 361 days versus 365. So I'm sure the investment committee will be very happy with that. Thank you. Any questions?
Of Dr. McClendon? Thank you. Oh, excuse me.
Yes, sir.
So, thank you. With the potential of increasing interest rates, you anticipate an increase in yield, I would hope?
Well, Mr. Heed, I was hoping you would ask that question. I look forward to that question. I do not define the procedure, but the WAM defines how we do this. Now, with a rise in interest rates, and we talked about that, if we buy investments with higher interest rate, it will push our WAM to 370. The board has told me to stay around 365, so that would be something we will have to look at. That is how you formulate the WAM. We can look at it, but that is the requirement. And yes, but if we were to go into the interest rates, it would push us at a higher WAM. So that's going to be a conversation I'm happy to have with the Finance Committee. Yes, sir. But yes, you are correct. I am looking at that, and there are rates that are available. We noticed, and we had that conversation today, sir. All right. Any other questions, comments? Thank you.
Thank you. Chancellor's report. Dr.
Certainly.
Giovannini.
Thank you. Mrs. Appleman, Mrs. Robinson, would you come forward for your new staff introductions, please?
Thank you. I have a new emergency manager, director of emergency management, excuse me. He replaces Robbie Robinson. His name is Jason Junkins. He comes to us from Northeastern State University in Oklahoma, where he developed a long-term emergency management program that integrated planning, training, and exercises into a complete overreaching program. He developed relationships with government and emergency management organizations, leading to involvement in training and instructional committees that shape the development and education of Oklahoma's emergency management community. In addition, he is been accepted into FEMA's National Emergency Management Executive Committee Academy, and he'll be one of 2 people in the United States to complete the program. He brings with him to Texas his wife, Crystal, and 3 boys, and I like saying this sounds like some sort of sitcom, Justin, Joel, and Jake. And his interests are scuba diving and woodworking. Please help me welcome Jason Junkins.
Evening. I'm very pleased to take this position. This is an amazing organization with some of the resources that are here. It's a dream come true from where I came from, so I appreciate that. Kind of looking forward into what I would like to see my department do. First is review and revise the emergency operations plan you currently have. And we've already started taking some of those small steps to get there. So I foresee us jumping into that come January and moving forward within this year into putting out a new emergency operations plan. I think that'll be a little bit more suited for the organization. I'm also working with my department right now to come up with a yearly plan for the department. And within that, looking forward to what we call a multi-year training and exercise plan, which will basically chart out for the next 3 to 4 years training and exercises that have to deal with emergency preparedness, and with the goal of having a full-scale exercise in that 4th year for this organization. And I've also presented Angela kind of a 5 to 7 year plan. The problem with that is you have such amazing resources. I'm not sure that it's going to take me that long, because of some of the conversations I've already had. It seems like some of those things are already in place is going to make it a lot easier for me. So more to follow on that, but I'm very proud to be here, and thank you for this opportunity.
Welcome.
Dr. Morales?
Good evening, Mrs. Appleman and Chancellor. I'm pleased to introduce Ms. Shelley Birch in her new role as Assistant to the President for TCC Connect campus. She has been with Tarrant County College for 14 years, supporting the Chancellor's executive leadership in various roles. She has worked in the area of finance as an executive assistant, grants compliance manager, and most recently as a senior project analyst. Her previous roles include assisting the college budget and strategic planning processes and collaborating with various departmental staff to support district-wide initiatives and special projects. Shelley earned a Bachelor's of Business Administration degree from LeTourneau University and holds a Master's of Business Administration from Texas Women's University. So with us tonight, Shelley Birch, please help me welcome her.
Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back. Well, I'm very excited to be able to support Dr. Morales and the TCC Connect team with the TCC vision and the campus strategies, and to be able to work on those strategies for student initiatives and make sure that students are able to achieve their dream of higher education. So
thank you,
I'm very
Shelley.
excited.
Good wishes in your
Thank
new
you.
life.
Thank you.
She kept us straight for many years behind the scene there. Would you like to comment on your busy schedule?
Just a reflection, and going out into the community more and more, it's very, very gratifying to hear and learn how engaged the college is in the community. You know, and oftentimes it's awkward because the people I'm speaking with know more about what we're doing with them than I do. So I learn a lot, and but I can genuinely say that is a theme over and over and over again. And I've worked at other colleges, if you know, and this college is extremely embedded in this community. So congratulations to everybody. Thank you.
I looked at his listing here of activities, and I said, that's not all you've been doing. And I'm not sure we have enough paper, but in the future, I've insisted that he show you all the places he's been, all the people he's met with, because it's been an unbelievable schedule. And we are very grateful to you for doing that. It's important for the community to get to know you, and I think it'll be mutually beneficial for the community and for us. So thank you for that above and beyond. The board has been busy too, and I'm going to ask, we have not rehearsed this, so who would like to comment on that wonderful scholarship banquet we attended the other night? You want to start, Mr. Heath?
It's just so gratifying to sit with the students that are recipients of the scholarships. The foundation dinner invites the people that are in charge of a named scholarship, and we get to hear from the students as to how much they really appreciate, not only need, but really appreciate the scholarships that they have received. Not only just for the money, but the other thing that impressed me was that it motivated them so much because somebody actually recognized them in that way, and it just really got them going, and I think that helps to define their future success in what they do. So it's the proof of what we do here at the college, just to see the accolades that these students give to everybody. The scholarship student that I sat with was one of the culinary arts scholarships that we sponsor through Rotary, and she was just so appreciative. And I asked her, well, how well did you do in school? And she said, well, I got a B, but everything else was an A. And her goal was to go out and start her own business. And it was interesting. She did not know about the possibility of going to Texas Wesleyan with a B+ average or better because she qualifies. So, you know, we give her as one of the scholarship sponsors. You know, we give her a little scholarship that's doubled by the college that then is the possibility of leading to a four-year education to somebody who never thought they would go to college, and they're going to go out not only get a job but hopefully start a business to support their families and everybody else that they hire in that business. It's just wonderful.
Any others want to comment on your experience?
You know, I had a nice table with all these students who had the scholarships there. I think we're giving away more than $1 million worth, but they were asking, where's all this money come from? And I'm talking about different foundations and different people giving money. And then of course, put a lot of natural gas money in that as well. And so one of them said, well, gee, what kind of check are we talking about? And I go, oh, $7.8 million. And then there was a sort of a stunned silence, and then I realized they thought I had written the check for $7.8 million. So I'm at the point where should I just tell them really that's TCC's money, or just let them? I think I'll just let it slide. So there's a few little dazzle students out there that really think that I'm a wheel. I can tell you. So.
Dr. McIntosh, you want to take him on? Dr. McIntosh and his staff did a really phenomenal job that night. It was quite a crowd and a lovely event, and it did make our work here at this table real, to say the least. Dr. Jordan? Others? Today we attended a luncheon for the Gorley, G-O-U-R-L-E-Y, Mary Gorley Foundation, and that's money that goes to young women. And we again heard testimonials that, you know, made the mascara run. And so We're very appreciative. That's done through the Financial Aid Office. So thanks to David Jimenez in that office and Dr. Joe McIntosh and the TCC Foundation for what they make possible. Mr. Heed, you went out to the Heart of North Texas Business Conference. You want to tell a little bit about that?
Well, actually, you had a comment on that, Dr. Goldman, but this is what, the 20th anniversary of that conference. It's the Northeast Leadership Forum is a group of all the business and political leaders in Northeast Tarrant County, and this particular leadership conference is, talking about entrepreneurship and the effect of all these community. Basically, I think underlying goal is that all these community leaders work together to improve that area in terms of business development and entrepreneurial success and all kinds of things. It's just, and then we had breakout sessions that talked about education and different areas that change each year. But it was a very rewarding conference to go to, and something that obviously TCC is a major part of, because the Leadership Forum is, number one, it's held on the Northeast campus, so it highlights what TCC and particularly Northeast campus contributes to the community. Just a very worthwhile organization. Dr. Goldman needs to be thanked because he chaired that. So, thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. The Toro Dash, Miss Ayala, were you the only brave one that attempted that? Or
There were several of us out there supporting the Toro Dash. It was a very wonderful turnout. The location was different. These are some great photos. Look at that. The location was different this year, and it was along the Trinity Trails, the Panther Island area. So it really showcased our campus there. Look at that, Dr. Coronado racing across the finish line.
Showing off.
But the race itself, there was a 1 mile, the 5K, and a 10K, and there I am with some of my family. By then, my father had passed the finish line way before the rest of us, I think. But my 89-year-old father also participated with us. So we had that's part of our team. Congratulations to Southeast Campus. Goodness, you had a very large turnout there. Let me see, 164 is what I have here registered from the Southeast Campus. So congratulations to Dr. Cappola's team on that. There were about 600, almost 700 participants, a little short of 700 participants from all across the community. There's some of our staff, of course, and it was a wonderful evening, or wonderful morning, rather. The weather was great, and just to give you some insight here, the net proceeds are being shared between the Foundation for Student Scholarships and the Employees Wellness Program. So hopefully that you all will come out and join us again next year. It's going to be on November 14th, 2017, so mark your calendars. And we want to thank some of our sponsors. I think Subway, ECI, Dr. Pepper, Canteen, I believe, and Texas Refrigeration, and many others sponsored. But it was a lot of fun. So, and the entertainment, everything was good. It was everybody had a good time that attended. So thank you so much. It's good.
Thank you for representing us.
Oh, yes, I had a good time. Walked the 1 mile and did the 5K as well. Yes. Wow. Yeah.
Makes me tired just to think about it. All right. Two of you at the table have blue bags in front of you, courtesy of Trinity River Campus. Dr. Madison delivered those. Mr. Carter, this is somewhere new. And it's in honor of your service to our country as veterans. And we thank you for that, and we thank Dr. Madison for bringing those by. I have the pleasure of, good, let's see. Oh, that's beautiful.
Beautiful. And then, yeah, TCC on the back.
Oh,
Yeah. Thank you.
I have the pleasure of sharing some good news. Jamil, stand up. The Collegian has went to 3 different conferences and came home with a bag full of trophies, including and these are all national awards, being named the best two-year college weekly newspaper of the year. So we congratulate you on that. And then Suzanne Groves, PR Communications Department, was entered, their work was entered into MarCom, which is an international competition. There were 6,000 entries in 21 categories, and Tarrant County College and her department won an award in every single category. They brought home 5 platinum, 8 gold, and 8 honorable mentions. South Campus, and these are some examples of some of their entries, I guess. South Campus, I'm not sure we haven't already recognized this, but it's good enough to recognize again. Heating, ventilation, and air conditioning program has been named one of the top 2 in two-year college programs in the nation. So congratulations to you. And your heating and air conditioning, your energy building was awarded a LEEDS mention, so that's an honor as well. So we appreciate and applaud that. We received word this week, the foundation, 2 very generous awards. The National Association of Home Builders awarded our construction management program, and Mr. Orlando Bugcal, who runs that program, a $75,000 award. Mr. Bugcal was one of 3 presenters at a national conference, and he very proudly announced that he had beat out the University of Denver and the University of Kennesaw in Georgia, so a community college came out on top on that one. And then yesterday at the foundation meeting, we learned of a $95,000 grant to our Texas Academy of Biomedical Sciences program, which we partner in with the Fort Worth ISD and UNT Health Science Center. So 2 very, very nice awards. Arlington, the Arlington Collegiate High School at Tarrant County College Southeast Campus, the proper name, was recognized as a Title I reward school by the Texas Education Agency, and 31 junior students were recently inducted into PTK. So that's Dr. Capola's brag this week. And we wish Southeast Campus a happy 20th birthday tomorrow. Big celebration. Any other shout-outs from anyone? Dr. Patrick?
Yes, I wanted to mention that on November the 11th, the Southeast Campus veterans held a very moving and touching Veterans Day ceremony that they organized it and pulled it off in an amazing fashion. And I guess maybe the best part was there were about 3 dozen or so veterans who were there, and he had them come up on the stage and introduce themselves. And I've been to a lot of Veterans Day ceremonies, but I must say that's one of the best. And thank you so much for honoring our soldiers and our veterans. Thank you.
We are going to adjourn into closed session. We do anticipate one vote to follow, but you all are excused. We're going to deliberate real property, section 551.072 of the Texas Government Code, deliberation on personnel matters, section 551.074 of the Texas Government Code, in consultation with attorneys, section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code. Thank you for joining us. Our next meeting will be in the morning, actually, the day of our holiday luncheon, so December 15th, probably 10 a.m., followed by our annual luncheon. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Introducing the new Moto Z Droid with Moto
I will reconvene the meeting at 5 after 9, and we have 3 motions. The first 2 are relative to real estate, and I'll ask Ms. Ayala to begin. Do you have one of them?
I have one on real estate and one on
Okay,
bills.
do the real estate
Okay.
one.
Move to give the Chancellor the authority to negotiate for the purchase of property in the vicinity of the Trinity River and Trinity River East campuses.
Second? Second. Who was that? Mr. Heed? Discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Who has the second? Mr. Heed.
Now, I move to give the Chancellor the authority to negotiate and obtain an appraisal for the purchase of property in the Alliance Corridor.
Second? Second. Mr. Greenhill, discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Carter, in opposition.
Okay.
Ms. Ayala?
I move to adopt the following Chancellor's goals. Number 1, expand the quality of communication channels to faculty and staff. Number 2, develop proposals and plans to enhance revenue from entrepreneurial sources. Number 3, overall, maintain or increase the rating on the Great Colleges to Workforce survey. Number 4, engage community stakeholders, including but not limited to citizens, stakeholders in the education and business community, philanthropic organizations, as well as others, in efforts to ensure access to the college for all who seek to enroll. Number 5, effectively represent the college to the local, state, national, and international community. And number 6, develop a plan to evaluate organizational efficiencies and effectiveness.
Second? Second. Mr. Carter, discussion? All those in favor, aye. Any opposed? The meeting is adjourned.